Hello, Earthlings! Welcome back to the Thundering Dice channel with your boys, the Thundering Dice Brothers, and we are back once again. Rings of Power, Episode 6, the Tacticians Don't Exist in Middle-earth edition, apparently. So my quick, overwhelming impression real fast about the episode. Yeah, the battle scenes are just hot garbage. Nothing makes sense about the way that they set up their tactics, the way they want to defend their position. Now I see that the goal apparently was to make the mountain explode, so they had to get the key to get into the fortification. So getting up the fortification seemed like a really bad idea from start to finish, and they did it right away. That was really dumb. Now that you're back in the village and you have a day to do some fortifications, fine. You all post up on roofs with bows and arrows, and you know you got a choke point there as well on a bridge, and you just let them come through the bridge and say, we can't start until they're across the bridge, which doesn't make any sense. Use the choke point. Same thing up on the castle part, the fortification. You got a fortification, you got a door, you got people to hold it, and you abandon it. Same thing, they have a narrow causeway and a bridge to get there. The best defense possible. Stand up there. You already have a tower that's ready to fall, so fuck, take it apart already and start chucking rocks at them. I don't know, figure something out. Don't just run away, hide, and then let them come and then take the bait that was the entire force of orcs, so you know it wasn't because you saw the number of torches, and then be all shocked Pikachu when they come in and actually fucking wreck your shit.
The first time.
Yeah.
And then you lift up the veil and like, oh my god, these are humans. These used to be us. We know these people. And then the orcs come once again.
So, second overwhelming point that I had about this episode. Thank God for good music, because the music provides an amazing counterpoint to the shittiness of the show. Like, the music is punching well above the weight class that this show is competing in. It's not even close. Like, you can hear the Lord of the Rings epicness in the music, but you can't see it or feel it on screen. That's a problem.
Yes. Yeah, I feel sorry for Bear McGreedy because, yeah, his score definitely works. It's really fantastic. It's fun to listen to. But as you said, against the backdrop, or that is the backdrop against the what's going on screen, fails to live up to the epicness, like everything everything the music has is not shown in the visual effects.
Nope. And speaking of visual effects, the ending scene with the mountain exploding, it's all fine and good. Apparently a pyroclastic explosion comes out, like a la Pompeii or Herculaneum, and everyone, including Galadriel, is dead, right? I mean, that's what happened there. In real life, you're toast.
Yes.
You're vaporized, and a nice shell, a casting will be made of your shocked face, or your blank face,
yes,
or your whatever face you're trying to, whatever emotion Galadriel was trying to portray there. Some kind of defiance and, like, shock or whatever.
To me, it more just looked like resignation at the end, where she just closes her eye, like, yep, all right, I'm dead.
Fucked up.
In a few thousand years, elf archaeologists will dig us all up, after going through the 10, 15, 20 layers of ash and pumice that will be rained down. Will find us, they'll find our remains, like, someone stood here heroically, defiant to the end before they were swept away by the tide. Yeah, I mean, like, it's hot enough to fucking create lightning. Like the
heat lightning and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, you already know that it's a boiling point. Everyone's dead within, a big amount of a big radius of Orodruin.
Now, I'm curious real quick if there are any geophysicists or geologists or volcanologists out there. So, I get how introducing water into a really hot environment creates a ton of steam really fast.
Yes.
And it expands a lot greater volume. I think it's like 100 times the volume of liquid water, potentially. So a ton of steam would come out of there. Now, would that be enough to trigger an explosion of the magma? Because it looked like the magma was just kind of pooling there. There wasn't a lot of pressure underneath the mountain to get it to go. So I get that it would blow the top off the mountain, possibly, with enough steam.
Yeah.
And it would possibly create a channel for the magma to flow out of, but I don't buy that it would create that kind of an eruption.
No, yeah, like, you have more physics understanding than I do, or basic stuff like that. But, like, even in my mind, I don't see how that works either. Because as you said, yeah, you need to have pressure on the bottom, not on the top. It's not like a chain reaction.
Unless there is somehow pressure underneath. I mean, from my understanding, a volcano explodes because of pressure underneath, and it finds a weak spot, whether that's James May driving up the volcano and shaking some stuff loose or whatever. but it finds a weak spot and
Yes.
it follows the path of least resistance. And if it's a crack or whatever, it splits open and the pressure is relieved until pressure is equalized or normalized. Now, that mountain's magma pool looked very equalized. It wasn't even, it was just hot
It wasn't
as
even
fuck.
bubbling. It was
Yeah.
just there.
So, okay, whatever. But if there's someone who wants to tell us exactly how that might work, I'd love to hear it because I'm fascinated. And if it's actually correct, maybe it's the only thing they got right in the episode.
That would be fucking funny if that actually worked that way.
So-
it was the only thing.
Speaking of that, though, what is the deal with Halbrand talking with Adar and Adar saying, who did I hurt? And, you know, and then Adar saying, I killed Sauron, telling that to Galadriel. I cut him in half or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Sauron's not dead. So, spoiler alert, everybody. Sauron has parts to play in Middle-earth still beyond this story.
Allegedly.
So, what's going on there? What could possibly be the backstory for this? Like, could you weave it into canon somehow?
No.
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 Okay.
Not even on the slightest. Like, even, let's just forget who Halbrand actually is and just look at that random character who just appears in the middle of nowhere. There's still no good reason to even try to link Adar to Halbrand because you just don't, I mean, like, they don't, the story doesn't give you anything to work with, so even if you want to scramble back in canon, you're like, shit, there's nothing good that I can latch on to this story.
Like, is there anyone that bested Sauron in that way and then ostensibly killed him? I mean, he got bested and got sent packing, and he voluntarily goes to Númenor
Yeah.
instead of going to sue for his pardon, but that still doesn't tie in with this twisted orc, or not orc, sorry,
Uruk.
elf, Uruk, who somehow bested Sauron in one-to-one combat. It's confusing to me that they put that in there.
Yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna say this. In the prologue for season 2, where they try to retcon a boatload of stupid shit, Adar is crowning Sauron with Morgoth's crown for some reason, because that makes sense, because it's not like the Valar beat it around his neck as a collar in punishment after taking the Cimmerals out of it. But let's just leave that as aside. So Morgoth's crown survives his downfall somehow, becomes really small. I mean, like, literally becomes like, it shrinks a buttload to be able to be fit onto Sauron's.
It has like ring powers where it adjusts to the wearer it needs.
Sure, why not? Let's call it that. And then right as Adar is about to crown Sauron, he turns it upside down, stabs him in the back. All of the orcs descend on Sauron, stabbing him a buttload. Sauron like stares up at the sky, sees some light, mouths some things, dies, and then like explodes in an explosion of frost, basically causing the whole north to become the frozen wasteland that you know it in canon, even though that's definitely not how it happened or anything. So that's what Adar did to Sauron.
Okay, but this is 100% wholly fiction.
Oh,
like this
beyond
isn't
fiction.
even close to lore. There's not even like an explanation that we can dredge
No.
up. This is just making shit up again, aren't we?
Oh no, every part of this is made up. I mean, like Adar, none of the original elves who were turned into orcs are alive. They don't retain their immortality.
They turn to orcs and then they die in battle or in whatever, and they breed. I'm guessing because they're not.
Yeah, they breed after the fashion of elves and men, so
Yeah.
they fuck. And yeah, then they die. Like they don't have a. They don't. They're mockery. Yeah, they're made in mockery. They don't have immortal lives. They don't have a semblance of their past like this.
And then this weird thing about them having like a soul, and they deserve life, and they deserve a home at the expense of everybody else, and this land will be theirs. I mean, what's going on with that? I know. Let's go to the movies, Lord of the Rings, and you remember the time of men is over, the time of the orc has come. You know, Gothmog
Yeah.
says that before besieging
Minas
Minas
Tirith.
Tirith. So are the orcs literally trying to form a society here in this Middle Earth times line? It's
No, they don't. They would not form societies like great societies in this respect. I mean, they have like tribes and family, quote unquote, and they do have a semblance of a bond with each other, but it's very like low grade. I mean, like you don't look for I mean, like the greatest like culture you're gonna find in orcs are like shitty music maybe like some shitty battle poetry, and just bloodlust, basically. And like a will to more or less be themselves. They don't like being dominated. Like, they don't like Sauron in this respect because Sauron controls them. I mean, I'm talking about like Lord of the Rings style.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like they're not down with that. They often talk about, well, not often, but like you hear a couple lines like, it was better when the powers were gone and we could just be orcs in the misty mountains and away from, you know, let's just say the
kind of like the
machinations
goblins
of the power.
live. You know, they live in the mountains and they have their own devious intrigues, but basically, they don't fuck with people unless they come into the mountain.
Yeah, they're not gonna go. Yeah, they're not gonna go hunt. Oh, I mean, they might go hunting depending if they're like hungry or some shit like that. But they're not like they're not trying to like they're not like there wasn't an active plan to turn Mordor into Mordor, because Mordor was always Mordor. I mean, like Mount Doom is raised sometime in the First Age by Morgoth. You don't know when. The land has always been basically the way it is. It's more fertile to the east because of the ash flow getting thrown off Mount Doom, and the Sea of Nuren is farther, you know, east. So like the lands there are more fertile. That's where like the main growing plantations, if you want to call it, for all the slaves are over there. You know, closer to where you see Mordor, like Gorgoroth, is mines and like forges and shit like that. But like it was always a horrible, hideous land. There was never a time, well, okay, there might have been a time at the very beginning of fucking creation that Mordor was beautiful, but that vastly changes really quickly. And then you have, you know, Shelob chilling up and in the passes of Cirith Ungol, making the Mountains of Shadow even more terrible than they originally were.
So this creating Mordor out of the Southlands, where we knew our characters and they've been living and they've been fighting for a long time, and creating that into Mordor is also fictionalized.
Yeah, I mean, like, to put this like in the Children of Húrin, he grows up in the shadow of Mordor, but on the other side. He's not in Mordor. He's on the outside where Gondor would be.
Yeah.
So
and there's constantly orc excursions coming from Mordor, and it's pretty well established that's where they're coming from. That's where they chill, and you know, forces of Morgoth.
It's a stronghold throughout the entire world, throughout all ages.
So once again, we've come to an episode where they try to actually move the plot, but actually kind of don't still. Like, and they move the plot forward in the respect that everyone dies or should be dead.
Yeah.
We've got a really let down battle with a ton of great music and really just underwhelming fight choreography. We've got a battle plan that is like negligent, you know, like if I didn't know better, I'd say that a servant of the enemy hatched the plan to make it really easy for the orcs to win. I mean, come on, you have the high ground, you have a narrow causeway that leads to it, you have a door that you can reinforce, you have a fortress and a thick wall that is not easily penetrated. There's no way for them to build siege engines and tunnel underneath because it's too small, because you only have one causeway. It's built on the top of a cliff. As far as I know, there's no good way to get to it from behind.
No, it's a lake behind.
Yeah, so stay there. You've got a better chance. Even if you don't have all the supplies that you need, you got to be able to fashion something out of there. I know there's a bunch of rubble and stuff. You could have thrown shit at them. You could have knocked the bridge out. At least you could have had a stalemate there and you would have survived, instead of whatever your plan was to create an ambush inside of the town, which is less defensible, has no defensive fortifications, has a bridge that leads over a river, which is your best bet, and you wait for them all to cross before you engage the enemy. Even now, you have all the supplies that you need to feather them with arrows as they are in that choke point, and they won't cross running water well or easily or even possible at all, I'm not sure, because they're orcs, they don't like running water. So you had it right there.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, you had it. You had two opportunities to win this, and you fucked it up the first time by leaving the high ground. Fuck, alright, come on. And second of all, you fucked it up again by just forgetting that bridges are choke points.
Yeah.
And thinking your best bet is to have them all there. And then also, overcommitting all of your forces to this one feint attack, this one ambush. Not thinking clearly enough, apparently, that there may be more of them. You know there are more of them because the number of orcs that you saw is not the same as the number of orcs that you saw gathering in the past below your fortification that you abandoned. Also, let's talk about how the fuck did you get away around them, around your fucking fortifications, back down to your village? Like, how did you just pass them all by? How did no one notice you?
They were all hiding because of daylight.
And why did they sit there and wait and watch? Like, woo! It's just, when I have to ask all these questions about why characters do certain things and then you see the result is shite, it means you fucked up as a storyteller, as a showrunner, as an actor, as a director, as a writer, as a fucking CEO. It's so disappointing. I'm so frustrated. The only good things I can say about it is the editing is pretty good. And the music is pretty good. And some of the CGI looks pretty awesome. And the prosthetics for the orcs look real.
Yeah.
So good on you for building sets and stuff, but shame on you for not making anything else believable. Or fun. Or enjoyable. Or engaging. Or mesmerizing. Or emotional. Like, I mean, goddamn.
Yeah, this is the second time in the last 2 episodes where we have paused halfway through, and my brother was like, there's still 30 fucking minutes left?
And people criticized the Lord of the Rings movies when they came out for being too long. They criticized the extended editions for being pondering and unnecessarily long. And yet, never once watching those movies have I ever paused halfway through and been like, oh my god, I'm only, and not even halfway through, 31 minutes in, and been like, oh my god, I'm so disappointed. The entire battle for Helm's Deep takes place in about a half hour of screen time, and I challenge you to find a way that it's deficient.
Or dull.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Helm's Deep is such a great example of a battle that, it works well, you get to see it, the stakes feel real, you get the ebb and flow of battle, you understand what they're trying to do without being, without having it to be pointed out. In this battle, you're just left, as you said, scratching your head over and over again, why you do why do you see the high ground? Why do you go down? Why do you set your village on fire? And somehow in 5 scenes later, there's no reek of damage, or there's no burned things. The bodies are all just suddenly gone when you're having a celebratory thing with the Númenóreans.
Very chill.
The Númenóreans just appearing at the right time to save the day always annoys me. Unless this was planned. I mean, and this would be all right, we are going to be here in 3 days. You have to hold out till then, and you'll know, and it'll work all out. That type of stuff works. But when it's just happenstance, and it's not even the will of the Valar type of bullshit. No, because you can't even bring you can't bring the idea of Eurocatastrophe into this story, because it doesn't even warrant bringing in that word. So when you have all these type of things that just happen coincidentally, you just want to scream, because it's just so inept.
And the logistics of the entire campaign that we're seeing unfold don't make any sense either. Yeah. So there were supposed to be 5 ships, now there are 3 left. These 3 ships carry hundreds of soldiers, all of their gear and their horses, and they're all mounted cavalry. This is not a couple soldiers who are directing the battle or mounted. No, this apparently is a marine invasion of Middle-earth using cavalry, which is traditionally not a marine thing. That's more army. I mean, that's why the army has tanks, the Marines don't. They have amphibious landing crafts, and they're it doesn't matter. Fine. How do they all get there? How did they survive the voyage? Where were they all kept during the voyage? And now they're on land. Where is all their stuff? I mean, all those people, you need farriers, you need cooks, you need armorers, you need people to handle the storage of grain and foodstuffs and tend all the horses and the livestock you may bring. I mean, this is a long voyage, and you don't have a quick supply route. It's not like you have a system set up or a beachhead set up where food and supplies are being dropped off, as far as I know. But
no, they make it very clear that this is the first time that they've been to Middle-earth
and it's far as fuck in, too. It's a day's sail up the goddamn river, and then a day's ride before they get to this village. So they're minimum 2 days away from where they landed.
Yeah, and this is all based off the intel that Halbrand gives them. This was the last place I saw the orcs, somewhere around the watchtower.
And so thank God they must have had a lot of advanced scouts out there, they're getting fucked right now, we gotta go, and charge in. And then you've got fucking Isildur sitting up. He's a stable boy, remember? He got busted down to bitch boy. And he is sitting there mounted in his finery with the queen. And then she nods at him. Yeah, you're good to go. You can go down. What? That was pointless.
Yeah,
just so he could run down and join the battle and have a touching moment with his horse and his dad later on.
No, there's a better reason why she has him do that, but it's not better he gets left behind.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No. I'm just spoiling some shit because it doesn't fucking matter. I think we've established the pattern that this show is so shit that I don't need to hold back shit anymore. He literally gets left behind in the retreat.
Yeah, okay, so there is a retreat. Everyone's not dead. The show's not over. Darn. Well,
way too many people survive.
I know they're gonna all have plot armor. It's gonna be dumb. Like, talking about plot armor, Bronwyn getting pierced by a fucking orc broadhead straight through her left breast, I believe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somewhere where it's not chill to have an arrow go through you. So,
and the blood that was pouring out after the shaft was removed. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if you cauterize that wound, you're still going to hemorrhage internally and die.
Yeah, that blood coming out in that volume, clearly you hit like a pulmonary artery or something. So a lot of blood coming out all at once. You need to go in there and clamp that shit, oversew it, arterial graft, something. So things that they don't know or can't do, obviously, because medicine doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So cauterizing it would have done nothing. And then she's up and about and talking like, nah, dead. Just fucking dead. Sorry.
Yes, everyone should be dead. She should be dead because of that. A boatload of other people should be dead because of the orc things. And all of the rest of the survivors should be dead when Orodruin explodes. Because no one's surviving that.
Nope.
Not even fucking cockroaches.
So, here we are. End of episode 6. Technically 3/4 of the way through the show. Plot-wise, it's very plotting. Nothing really happens. But they have finally reached Númenor, and then the mountain blows up and Mordor, or not, they've reached Middle-earth, the mountain has blown up. We don't know what's going on with the dwarves or the elves right now, because we didn't see them at all, and, blessed be the light, we didn't see anything about the Harfoot, so as far as I'm concerned, maybe their society got caught up in the explosion, they're all dead, and we can forget about the experiment named Harfoots, and we can start over with some proper hobbits later on.
No, because the next group of hobbits that you will be introduced to in Season 2 are somehow stupider. Not really, but they're just as... Actually, no, they are stupider because of... I won't, spoil this one, but they make Poppy hook up with, a real special hole dweller. Let's put it this way. It's bad! It's so bad.
Well, all I can say is Lasai, and I keep learning cool things about Middle-earth, and I keep realizing that Amazon shouldn't be allowed to touch things I care about.
Yes. Absolutely, 100%. Amazon should not be allowed to touch any fantasy IP ever again.
And on that uplifting note, we'll catch you next time, episode 7, for another exercise in mental fortitude.
Oh yeah, definitely. And until then, stay safe, stay sane, like, comment, and subscribe. Give our Patreon a check out, and we'll see you guys next time.